I think I want them to experience the fact that when the doors are open, there's a surprise.
This is Bay 82 by Chuck Sharbaugh. A Michigan native, Sharbaugh studied ceramics at Cranbrook Academy of Art after serving in the Vietnam War.
After Cranbrook, I tried to continue working in ceramics while I held a full-time job as a laborer for a concrete company. I didn't want to teach, and I didn't want to be a production potter. I really wanted to make pieces of art.
After 2 years, he moved on from ceramics and worked in construction for about 25 years. It was during this time that he worked with a wealthy client who commissioned custom furniture that expanded his knowledge and skills, jump-starting his pursuit of fine furniture making.
Came out looking not like a first-time project, like a beginner's project. It really looked finished. And I thought, wow, I could go places with this. There's always been the conflict about what is art, whether craft is art. I was always interested in furniture, and Catherine and I, at that time, we traveled Europe quite a bit. That's when I first was introduced to a furniture form called a cabinet on stand, which is the very furniture form that I've been using just because I was so fascinated with the marquetry when I saw it in museums. The exterior structure is based on an iron ore structure on the harbor of Duluth that I toured. I've created these circles on the front of the drawers because I'm a bird watcher. I was thinking about the stare of a northern goshawk that I was able to hold and release when I was in Duluth. And I wanted these to speak to the idea that the piece is somewhat not threatening, but maybe somewhat dangerous. The wood that's used in this piece is hard maple that has been ebonized black. And I use an aniline dye that I've sprayed on 3 or 4 coats, and then that gets lacquered. So then when this piece opens up, there's a surprise with what's on the inside. This is the iron ore structure that I saw from a boat with the reflection of the water of that. And so I picked up the feet on this piece to echo down here. And this structure also would have rubber tires on each one of these to keep the ships that would come in from damaging the structure. I've cut little circles on the base, trying to be reminiscent of that. There are 16 drawers. All of these represent locations that I've lived or have had a reference to with where I've worked. All these images are made up of hundreds of very, very small pieces of wood that I have to use surgical glasses to cut on my saw. I actually took those images from Google Earth, put them into a computer, and came up with this idea, and then they're stylized. The roofs of the houses that you see in here look like they're three-dimensional, and that's because I've used a technique called sand shading, where you take that piece of wood and you dip it into very hot sand, and the deeper it goes, the hotter it is, and it scorches that edge. And then that could be placed, and so that creates somewhat of a shadow for the roofs. When I buy the woods, I don't remember the names. I'm primarily looking for color or texture or pattern. The woods that are white are probably a maple wood, and all the other woods that have any kind of color to them are tropical woods. The circles up here are referencing the trains that come across the top of the iron ore structure that dump the ore into the barges that are waiting to receive it. I love factories, I love trains, I love aerial views. That is intentional that I use that. Very abstractly making a reference to a railroad track. People view the cabinet on stand usually from a distance walking up. They're not approaching it very closely, but When the doors are open, the intricacy that I've created, they actually force the viewer to come closer. It's an intimate visual conversation that I want people to have with the piece. Just like if you're meeting someone for the first time, you are having an intimate conversation with them, and you start realizing that there is a lot more to someone than what you first perceive.
There is also a physical element to these cabinets that Sharbaugh conceptualizes that is ultimately sacrificed. The works are most fully explored with the inclusion of touch, something that is discouraged in a museum setting in order to preserve the work. Sourcing a variety of domestic and imported woods from dealers in New York and Michigan, Sharbaugh painstakingly crafts his intricate furniture examples over the course of 12 to 16 months.
The entire piece took me maybe 3.5 months, and the rest of the time was spent doing the marquetry. I would think a week and a half for a drawer.
Sharbaugh works in his studio by himself, using a hydraulic portable lift to help maneuver the pieces needed to work on the cabinets.
I think any furniture maker would be so familiar with what I've done. What may be interesting is about the way that I cut the veneers. I use a jeweler's blade in my saw so that the kerf that is cut is as small as possible. There aren't a lot of people that are doing marquetry in the United States. Most of the general public can't figure out how it's possible to have those pieces come together the way they do.